Hi, Jen here from Jen Michelle Coaching, and today I'm going to talk about, am I clingy or is he distant? This is a topic that a lot of you ask me to talk more about because many women, and not really necessarily just women, can feel very anxious and really have their relationship with uncertainty challenged in intimacy. There's nothing that brings up some of our old stuff more than intimacy. So I want to break down the difference between, is it on your end, or is there something on his end, or maybe even something in between. For those of you new to my channel, I would love to invite you to subscribe. I release a video weekly. Number one, understand your patterns. What I mean by understand your patterns are, you're not trying to get needs met in disguise. So if you tend to have that more anxious, clingy type of personality when someone's taking space or maybe acting a little bit more aloof or distant, or there's a disruption or a change in patterns, you're not trying to sneakily try to disguise the need for reassurance by calling them, by texting them, by asking innocent or loaded questions to get, affection or reassurance of where they stand with you. But instead, you are really staying in your own experience, but you're not trying to inadvertently make something happen so you can feel safe again. And instead, you're allowing them to really be in that space, let them show you who they are. And if it's a behavior that continues, of course, being able to spark conversation from a grounded and centered space, but you're not going about it in this roundabout way where you're asking questions that are kind of loaded or that will severely impact you or trigger you, but instead you're really taking responsibility for yourself and you're still allowing them freedom to make choices for themselves, and you're deciding from a good space how that's working for you and what your next step is as a result. Number two, if you find yourself clinging to someone who isn't treating you well, there's a good chance that that person may be emotionally unavailable. If you find that you are in this visceral state of really needing reassurance, you kind of have that sensation of wanting to pull at their pants leg, you just feel anything but grounded and centered, and you find yourself just emotionally all over the map, there is a chance you may be dealing with an emotionally unavailable partner. And this can feel extremely just volatile in the sense that you think that once they show up or once they do these certain things, then you're going to feel okay. But in reality, it can often be a vicious cycle of wanting to keep someone in that safe distance where, believe it or not, we actually operate in this way where we like the thrill of the chase. We like the unattainable. For someone who can really show up and satisfy us actually is threatening or feels unsafe because we're not comfortable with that level of intimacy. So we build some barriers and like to have a man that we're constantly chasing, even though in reality, this will never lead to real and lasting love. And so if you find that you are more clinging and always chasing after someone, really be honest with yourself and ask yourself, is this person actually available? Are they actually able to show up in the ways that are necessary to have a healthy and loving relationship? And then being able to ask yourself, are you ready for that? Are you able to let that in? And having these honest discussions within ourselves allows us to break out of what we saw growing up and just enter new realms of consciousness around what we can create in relationship. Because if you always witnessed, your father shutting down or just taking space and not being emotionally available, subconsciously, that may be something that activates that hormonal response where you begin to draw that in because that's what's familiar to you. And if we get to know ourselves well, we have the opportunity to reparent and make really conscious choices about the type of person that we want to be with, and also check in and see how we want to show up within ourselves. What makes us value ourselves, have self-respect, self-love, and all of those really important qualities that make us feel just confident and comfortable in our own skin. Number 3, do not compromise your self-respect or dignity in these situations. It can be really easy to lose ourselves and get caught in the emotion, especially if that abandonment trigger gets activated, because that's a really intense one, and that's one where people just lose the ground underneath them. But if you find that this kind of describes the emotional response that you go into, it is essential to remain present within yourself. It can be helpful to set a reminder. It can be helpful to write it down. When you're calm, have things that soothe you so you're not compromising your dignity or self-respect, and therefore teaching someone that you don't value yourself, that you're willing to do anything for them, or that the relationship is more important than the relationship you have with yourself. You don't want to energetically ever convey any of these things, even if you're still a work in progress, because of course, this is just your attachments taking over. This isn't rooted in something that's expansive, loving, and that soul perspective that lives within you. And so I find it very, very helpful when I'm coaching women around this, that when you're centered and calm, really come up with some ways in which you can show up for yourself and not abandon yourself in favor of him, because that's actually what's happening when that visceral trigger takes over. And so to be able to turn into your body, quiet the head, move into your body, move into your breath, stay with your own emotional experience, and really trust that you're not going to ever miss what's meant to be yours. And that is a truth that can really ground and center us in times of just volatility and uncertainty in any aspect of love. If this speaks to you, I have lots of different conversations and offerings on my website around available and emotionally unavailable men, secure attachment. I actually have a digital program called Create a Forever Bond, and that may be something really helpful to check out if this is an area that you want to learn more about and that is just speaking to you in any way. Please visit jenmichellecoaching.com. I'll also add the link below. Much love, and I'll see you all next week.
Got this feeling I can't describe.